Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Players Prep. My name is Brad Hopkins alongside Maurice Patton and Jared Morris. And boy, do we have some high school action to get into today. Let me check out this list here. We've got Brian Waite from East Nashville as they get ready to take on the Perl-Cohn Firebirds, and they are led by Tony Brunetti. And he's going to be joining the show as well. And of course, look, going down to Williamson County and seeing what tilts are going to be ones to pay attention to down there. We're going to catch up with Donnie Webb from Franklin as they get ready to take on an unbeaten Ravenwood Raptors team led by Will Hester. And we'll have his conversation too. So we got 4 great coaches to talk to today, 4 great interviews, but we have to recap, ladies and gentlemen. Jeez Louise. The game that we saw that I didn't see the outcome being like it was when you talk about, you know, 2 juggernauts in high school football. That will be the Brentwood Academy, what are they, the Eagles? And the Macaulay, the Blue Tornado. That's why I got him on the show here, man.
That's why we got the Godfather.
I'm here for you.
But put it this way, I don't know what their names were, but I know that they were putting up some huge points. And I know that I didn't really expect it to be that much of a difference. But, I mean, Maurice, was the outcome of that ball game, Brentwood Academy going down to Chattanooga to get a win like that, was it a surprise to you?
You know, I was hearing the score over the course of the night, Friday night, and when I heard that Brentwood Academy was up 30-10, I mean, my mouth just physically dropped open. And then I heard later on that it was a running clock. It was a mercy rule.
Oh,
yeah. 59-24 final over a team that 2 weeks ago, I think it was, had virtually done the same thing. 2 ends were 62-34.
Yeah,
my bad, sorry. But I just don't think
hit close.
I don't know that anybody expected Brentwood Academy to win that game, let alone win it like that. And I think it just shows their continued development. We've talked about their sophomore quarterback, Jeremiah Oatsvall, had another big game for them. 185 passing yards, 104 rushing yards. And Jacob Cretan had a big night for him as well, 220 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, and just went down there and kind of negated Macaulay's offense with Javon Craig and Alex Trotter, who we talked about a lot last week.
2 very effective guys running the football, and we talked about, as a matter of fact, we were talking about it, you know, earlier on, just, you know, some of the issues that a lot of these coaches have dealing with not your typical offenses. You're talking about spread style offenses that have a lot of horses, you know, to be able to feature that. It's not like everybody has, you know, Division I athletes running around their programs to be able to match up with some of these guys. But we're talking about 2 programs that feature those kind of talented players, and I have to admit, just the outcome was a little bit of a surprise to me. But you know, just moving forward, it's just, you know, when we look at some of the matchups that we got coming up, you know, specifically Williamson County this weekend, looking at Ravenwood versus Franklin, the battle of 2 teams that they kind of know each other, but then, you know, it's like, I'm sure that these kids maybe have rubbed elbows in middle school or elementary school. You know, maybe they've you know, been over at the Thoroughbred down there and caught a movie or something together. But for the most part, they know each other, but not really. So I wonder just how close this contest is going to be of the Battle of Williamson County.
I think, particularly when you've got 2 teams playing as well as those 2 teams are, and when you've got players as close as those are, like you said, it really develops into something special. I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game.
Jared, going a little bit north, talking about Perl-Cohn, East Nashville. I mean, maybe they don't get the praise or the recognition for being programs like they are, but right now they're faced, you know, I guess 13-1. That's the combined record that these 2 teams have, and they've got to be paying attention to just who's on the other side of the field, right?
This is basically the district championship game for this district. Perl-Cohn got the great running back Keyshawn Vaughn, and then East Nashville only giving up 7 total points through 7 games, and that was on a punt return. So you've got a giant offense versus a giant defense, and it's just unbelievably exciting to talk about, and can't wait to watch it.
I tell you what, I don't know if you guys are chomping at the bit, but we certainly are. So we're going to finish up this segment so that way we can get ready to bring on some of these great coaches and talk about these great games that we do have coming up. And remind you that Players Prep is brought to you by Global Motorsports. Global Motorsports has 5 awesome locations in and around the Middle Tennessee area. If you don't know where they are, do like we do. Go to the Google. It's got globalmotorsportsinc.com. That's how you can find them. Yeah, it's called the Google. That's what my grandmother said. Anyway, they've got quality vehicles. They got quality staff. And I'm sure they can find exactly what you're looking for. So when we come back, our coaches' interviews right here on Players Prep. That's Jared Morris and Maurice Patton. I'm Brad Hopkins. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, now serving the Greater Nashville area.
Welcome back. Players Prep is the show. We are your hosts, Brett Hopkins, Maurice Patton, and Jared Morris, of course. And it starts the second part of our conversation. We begin with our coaches, more specifically Brian Waite from East Nashville. Boy, does he have a tough contest coming up this weekend against Perl-Cohn. He's undefeated. As a matter of fact, Maurice, did you know there's only one touchdown been scored against this team this year?
One touchdown scored against this team, and it was on a punt return. And they were a little salty about that, actually. Were you not, Coach Waite?
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't have taken place, but it's a part of the game, and I'm very proud of my kids on defense for their efforts this year in not allowing any scores.
Brian, it's easy for, obviously a team that's had such success like you have, and like we just talked about, only having one touchdown scored against you, to get complacent and kind of get the big head, so to speak. So how do you keep your kids grounded, if you will?
Well, we just try to stay focused on the process, just doing our best and trying to execute every play with maximum effort, really staying focused on those things and not really focusing on the scoreboard. We understand that winning is a byproduct of your hard work and your effort, and as long as we keep that as our focus, everything else will take care of itself.
Coach, I'm looking at the numbers, and like we said, you had 6 straight shutouts going into last game and only giving up 1 touchdown. Talk about how important it is for you to be able to stop Keyshawn Vaughn, who is a great running back, got a lot of offers, and a very high-powered offense in Perl-Cohn, averaging 56 points a game.
Hey, I'm telling you, these guys are for real. Keyshawn is a critical part of their offense, and we definitely respect him. And I'll be honest with you, he had a great game against us last year, and I think he's looking forward to repeating this year and having a great outing as well. But we know that they have more than one weapon on offense. They have a great wide receiver in Montavious Groves, who poses a threat to our secondary, and they've got a quarterback that can put it there. So, but Keyshawn is a very critical portion of their offense, and if we can just play sound and line up and kind of slow him down some, I think we have a chance.
Coach, you talked about Groves and Jimmy Farrell, the quarterback, and when you've got a running back that you're going up against like a Vaughn, obviously for the secondary and those back end guys, it's easy to get caught looking in the backfield. And how do you school those guys not to do that when you've got a passing combination like Farrell and Groves, like you said?
Hey, yeah, I think it all starts up front. If my defensive line comes to play, and we can control the run with the front 4, the front 7, then the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. So my biggest challenge is out to my line. They'll be big up front. They have a huge offensive line. I think 4 of the 5 guys are back. They have one newcomer on that group. So there'll be a tough. We have a tough task ahead.
We're talking with Coach Brian Waite from the East Nashville Eagles. His program is facing Perl-Cohn this weekend, and as you hear my computer tell you, that's a pretty big game. But for the most part, I mean, Brian, you're looking at a group of kids here that you preach discipline to, but you've got talent tremendously, of course. So how do you, I guess you could say, differentiate between, when to kind of tighten the screws a little bit or just let them play?
Yeah, you just really try to emphasize, hey, guys, talent, you can have all the talent in the world, but without hard work, without the preparation, none of that matters, and I really kind of just thank the kids for buying into what we've been selling. I mean, we've been blessed to coach some great athletes in the past, but they haven't quite didn't quite buy into what we were selling as far as working hard and doing things right, both on and off the field. These kids, and it started with the group I had last year, but these kids have really taken heed to what we were telling them and really taking heed to coaching, and I appreciate them for their efforts in that.
Coach, you're undefeated right now, Perl-Cohn only with 1 loss. Is this basically going to decide who the district champion is this game, and how hard is it for you not to let your kids maybe think about that district championship already?
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. We do have the district championship in our mind. That's one of our goals this year, and I don't mind sharing that information. But the thing is, we understand that there's a process that you have to go through. That each week is a big game, and once you got to take care of the week that you're playing. You got to take care of the current opponent. before you can look ahead. And we haven't looked ahead at anybody. We do understand that Lipscomb gave Perl-Cohn a pretty good run during their matchup, and that they'll be a pretty tough, formidable opponent as well. So just trying to stay focused on the week to week, but understanding that that's one of our goals.
Coach, we've talked a lot about Perl-Cohn and their offensive weapons. You've got a couple of guys that you can use on that side of the ball as well. Talk a little bit about Lennox McAfee, the Wofford commitment, and Isaiah Upton, the MTSU commitment, and what they bring to the table for you guys on offense.
I'm telling you, they bring excitement and explosion. Both of those kids are outstanding, both on and off the field. And words can't explain how I truly feel about those young men. They've done a great job as far as being leaders for the offense, and Lennox plays both ways as well. But just what they bring to the table, a determination, a passion, just to be successful both on and off the field, you can't replace it. Lennox has surpassed the 1,000-yard mark rushing this season, so I'm very proud of his accomplishment there. Isaiah is very close to eclipsing 1,000 yards passing, and he's fairly high on the rushing side as well. So we'll continue to try to get those guys moving and keep them rolling.
Well, Brian, I tell you what, it's going to be the battle of the birds, the Eagles versus the Firebirds. And, between the two teams combined, 13-1 is the record. Someone's got to fall. So we wish you luck this weekend, and, just play hard.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, guys, and hopefully I'll see you guys out there, and hopefully we give the crowd something to cheer on and be excited about Nashville football.
Sounds good, Brian. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Brian Waite. Obviously, he's got a big contest, we just talked about it, versus Perl-Cohn, his undefeated Eagles. If they don't have the T's crossed and the I's dotted, it could be a long ball game for those guys. But hey, we're going to have plenty of conversation with many more coaches here on Players Prep. For Jared Morris, Maurice Patton, I am Brett Hopkins. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Vane Center, now celebrating 10 years service in Nashville, Tennessee.
And we are back. The show is called Players Prep. My name is Brett Hopkins. That's Maurice Patton. The guy on the end there, that's Jared Morris. And on the line with us next to continue part 2 of the conversation, high school football is definitely a hotbed. And Tony Bernetti joins us here from the Perl-Cohn Firebirds to being the Eagles and the Firebirds. We were talking about that, we were kind of making a joke last segment about this being the Battle of the Birds. Obviously, it hasn't been since, I guess you could say, September 12th against NBA that maybe your team hasn't been tested like it will be tested this weekend versus East Nashville. What do you think, Coach?
I think it'll be a great game. I think both teams are very talented. They 7-0. I mean, we only have one loss in the NBA, which we lost a close game right there. But I think it'll be a good contest.
Coach, Keyshawn Vaughn, obviously the big part of your offense, and he can do it all. He can break tackles. He's got speed. He's got good hands. Talk about how important he is for your offense and what kind of game you're needing out of him against an East Nashville team that's only given up 1 touchdown, and that wasn't even on defense.
I need him to be consistent like he's been doing. Just be consistent and do what he does. Our offense is pretty opposing offense right now. We're pretty balanced right now. If you look at our stats, we're throwing the ball just as good as we run the ball. So it's not a one-man game. You can't load the box up and just stop him. If you do, then we're going to hurt you in the air. I mean, our quarterback, David Furrow, has been putting up numbers, big numbers, every week, consistently throwing at least over 71% of his throws. So we're a pretty balanced offense. I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, we talked about the one loss over at NBA. Tough place to play. You guys have had some tough times going over there. It's been a great series, I think. But talk about what you learned about your team going over there and losing that ball game 49-40.
Our biggest thing has been going to that game right there before that game. I didn't want them to take the game too harsh. Like we lose this game, it's the end of the world. The only thing I wanted to get out of that game was, can we deal with adversity? Can we deal with adversity in tough situations? And I saw that. I mean, it was down 35-12 in the first quarter, and we came all the way back and the opportunity to win that ball game with 18 flags and 5 turnovers and still to lose by a touchdown. And we still had a chance to score right at the end, to punch it in, but we didn't get in, so we lost 48-40.
Coach Bernetti, gauging successful programs like yours, like NBA's, and of course like you know, like obviously Perl-Cohn, East Nashville, NBA, those teams are obviously going to be recognizable teams like that. But, Coach, just talk about some of the similarities that might be present between teams that really run the football effectively and put up a lot of points like yours does.
I think the big thing is control the game. I mean, we're capable of scoring pretty fast, but the biggest thing is being consistent. We can maintain long drives. And I think East done a good job as well. While they do a good job running the ball between the quarterback and the running back they have. Max the kid, he's pretty stiffy. He's a pretty quick guy, and we all know about the quarterback. He's pretty good. I think the biggest thing is to be controlling the ball, not turning the ball over, being consistent, and having long drives to make them work on defense.
Coach, building off of that, does it change your mentality at all being away, being at East Nashville, and the only loss of the season coming at NBA? So is it going to be different playing it away than it would be at home against your home in front of your home crowd?
No, I think it'd be. I think we have more people. I feel in my heart. I know my crowd follow me a lot. We have a good crowd that follows, and I think that we'll have more Pearl people there than we probably East people there. I believe that. I put it out there. But I believe the support in our community come out, especially how well we playing. Let's go back to the NBA game where the field outside of the ball was filled out full. All right, going back, and we lost that game in a tight ball game. Came back the following week, played Lipscomb, a very good Lipscomb team that people don't realize. I think they'll make the playoffs. And then I think they're going to make a statement in the playoffs. But I think that we was down that game. They had a good game plan, came out and played as well. We still came back and pulled that game out and won through adverse situations. So we've been in situations being away from home and being down and still come back and win. So I think being at Vanderbilt, that's right there at home with us. That's not too far from Perl-Cohn High School, 5 minutes. I think we're going to represent there that Friday night.
Coach, talk about East defense, and you talked about your offense being balanced, but I think they've got like 12 interceptions in 7 games. Just talk about what they've been able to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Watching film-wise, there's a lot more discipline this year. They play better team defense this year. And that's been a plus for them. That's why I see it. I see that they play better as a unit this year than they did last year. But at the same time, we got to play. We got to do what we do every week. We got to perform the same way we do every week and execute the same way we do on offense. And I think the dice roll, see what happens.
To wrap up, Coach Brunetti, what's this week been like for you guys? Do you put the pads on? Do you take them off? I mean, I know that pretty much your routine.
No, we had a bye week last week, and I let the kids. We just worked hard on toning our bodies, get back to rest a little bit, to heal a little bit, but we could get some real hard, have more mental practice, and really hit the weight room last week. And I gave a couple days off Thursday and Friday because they worked hard Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And this week we'll come back. We'll put the pads back on. We'll go back to work like we always do every week, prepare for every team we play with. So we're going to hit some this week now. You got to get a little physical during the week to get ready for Friday.
I hear that. Well, it's going to be a college-type environment, I'm sure. And I'm sure that, like you said, the Perl-Cohn faithful will show up. If not, you put it out there again. Go ahead and tell them where to go.
Well, I think the biggest thing I say, we've been real blessed. My offensive line up front have been consistent. They've been playing together for 2 years straight. And they're very good. I give it to them. They work hard together. They put the time in. Big guys work from January on through the summertime. That's what the difference can be in games. Can you handle the big boys up front working? And I know our guys work their butt off. And they looking forward to games like this. To show how strong they are, how big they are, how more dumb they are up front.
Oh, absolutely. If anybody knows where it gets done first and foremost, it's right here on this show, Players Prep. Because hey, they're the biggest boys, they're the smartest boys, and they're the best looking boys too. So anyway, great to have you on, Tony. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck this weekend.
Coach.
No, thanks, Gene. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. See ya. That was Coach Tony Brunetti right there. Man, it doesn't get any worse. I mean, like we just talked about a little bit ago, 13-1 is the combined record for both teams. And, it's either going to be, one other team that's got their first loss or another team that might get their second loss of the season. I'm not sure how that's going to play out for any sort of playoff implications, but both teams going in, Maurice and Jared, are pretty good. And,
he talked about his crowd's going to be there. I'm sure East Nashville's crowd's going to be there.
Sure.
And I imagine, like you said, with the two teams coming in a combined 13-1, there'll be some folks that don't necessarily have any ties to either team that just want to see some good football that will probably show up at this one Friday night.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I feel like we need to call Brian back and let him get him,
have them all at the same time, right? Those are some fired-up coaches right there.
East Nashville Eagles ready to go. Anyway, we've got more discussion with a few more coaches, too, when Players Prep returns. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, now serving the greater Nashville area.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our show is called Players Prep, and I am Brad Hopkins alongside Jared Morris and Maurice Patton. And we continue the coaching conversation now with Coach Donnie Webb from Franklin. He's getting ready to take on the Ravenwood Raptors this weekend. Pretty good ball club coming up, Coach. I know you'd have to agree with that, right?
Oh, gosh, yes, without a doubt. Real good football team.
Well, I don't want to ask you if you've been challenged to this date, but is this week's focus any different than any of the other weeks that you've had coming to this point, just given the fact that Ravenwood hasn't lost?
No, without a doubt. I mean, for us, I think most coaches would say, they give the cliche that work is work and you do everything the same. And to a point you do, but the emotion that will come involved with this game is something we're going to have to deal with because it is going to be a high intensity, emotional type ball game.
Coach, a lot of people talking about the semi-slow start that you had last week. How important is it for you to get off to a fast start against Ravenwood this week, who is undefeated and only giving up 5.8 points a game?
Well, it's going to be very tough, and it may look slow at points because they really are so good defensively, really sound. Coach Hester, Coach Keel, and we know a lot of those guys over there, obviously, and they're doing a really good job. They're going to, points are going to be hard to find on them. I said it last week. I took a lot of the slow start from us. It was I did not prepare us well enough for the wing tee. It was difficult for me as a 40-something-year-old man not to look ahead, and then you can only imagine what 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids were thinking.
Coach, you talk about, not looking past Summit. You talked about the emotion involved with this ball game. How do you not dampen that emotion but focus that emotion in a big ball game like this?
Without a doubt, it's been a problem for us. We're having to deal with it with our kids in other, high emotional games because penalties, that's what comes out of those emotions. All of us who have played the game, and all of y'all have, and those emotions are good, but about after the first 2 minutes, you better back up into what you've been coached to do all week and be able to play within the system of the game. And that's the main thing that we have to guard against is don't let the atmosphere around the game because, their student section, I think ours is really good as well, but, theirs is big, and obviously they're playing so well that they're going to be really excited. So we got to be able to go in there, handle that, and then just do what we're supposed to do.
Coach Webb, go back to what you were talking about defending the wing tee. You admitted that you had some problems with that, but it's not like every offense can feature those kind of hosses to be able to make that offense effective. So what was it, the most difficult part about, basically defending that? Was it having as many athletes on the field as they did to match that kind of productivity, or was it discipline? What was it?
Well, I definitely do not want to take one thing away from Summit. My hat was off to him. He's got those kids in a lot of adversity, and they really, truly were playing hard to the last whistle. So I don't mean it that way. But what we did not do a good job of is it's trying to simulate it in practice and throughout the week. I can remember us constantly telling our scout team players they're not going to hit it there. They're going to hit it here instead. And they were taking the sweeps outside. And it took us a while. We were overrunning things. And that's, like I said, I put that to me as I didn't do a good job of making them understand where they actually want to hit the ball coming out of that wing offense.
Coach, I love that you gave so much credit to Ravenwood's defense, but your offense is no joke, averaging 38 points a game. Grimes and Milan both with 100 yards last week and 2 touchdowns each. How important are they in this game going up against that defense, even though you've got that great potent offense?
Well, and you're exactly right. I've been really pleased with the production of our offense. I think our offensive staff has done a great job of preparing our kids, and we have good players too. I don't think that we have faced a defense, especially here in the last few games, probably back to McGavick, that we faced a defense that is as talented and holding people to not as much yards as Ravenwood is. So it is going to be a challenge. Biggest thing for us is, they're sound in what they do, and sometimes it's It's almost not. It sounds weird to say it's easier coaching because you know where they're going to be. Now, can our X's do something with their O's, and vice versa?
Coach, talked about Bryce Milam and Malik Grimes and what they did last week. Are you looking to, and I don't want you to necessarily give away any government secrets, but do you look to get the run going early in this game? Do you look to try to get Joe Critchlow off early? How do you try to attack that defense with your offensive pieces?
Well, if you look in our district, all of us are pretty much about the same. We've got something that is our strength. And, you know, we all say we try to be balanced, but something obviously is our strength. We can throw the football and we can catch it. We have several receivers that have caught the ball. We don't have the top-notch guys that, you know, everybody's coming out here to recruit, but they can catch the football. However, with that being said, we do always want to establish the run because we feel like it takes the pressure off. It makes the reads that much easier if they're having to stop the run. But it comes down to a numbers game. If they're trying to take away the run or if they're playing more too high and giving us the numbers in the box. You mentioned Bryce and Malik. They both done great jobs. And obviously, if you put them in one body, I mean, you'll get what I'm saying. If it was one kid getting the 27 carries instead of 13 in one and 14 in the other, then they're probably being talked as a player of the week or something. They had production, the two of them together is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you might want to try the biology department. They might be able to help you with the combining athletes. Hey, Donnie, you know, I started thinking about something. You and I have something in common. We both coached Joe Critchlow. Yeah, I did it when he was a kid, at Graston Elementary School. But
You better watch Brad because he'll be taking credit for him over here in a minute.
Hey, I'll say his development started with me, man. He doesn't, that's where it started. No, but seriously though, finally take this opportunity right now to tell us a little bit more about your kids. You just mentioned Joe Critchlow and a couple of other guys. You know, how about some guys that you lean on that you know will be watching maybe in the future?
You know, obviously Joe as the quarterback, and, you know, he gets a lot of the pub, and it's understandably so. He's been in the offense now for 3 years and has made a lot of plays for us. Offensively, you know, you've already mentioned the two tailbacks. You know, obviously the offensive lineman, but I think it's also it's big for us to get Garrison Matthews some catches. He is a big target for us. Defensively, I think people really don't. I think coaches know who the kid is, but most people don't know who he is. Number 72 is Josh Philby. Number 42, Booth Tays. They're both inside defensive linemen for us. And if they're able to control the line of scrimmage, it'll at least allow us to try to put two guys on Jefferson. But then they've got number 6, the Austin kid, over on the other side. So we can just pick our poison, I guess.
Oh, Donnie, you about to make me start tearing up, bud. Big guy, you mentioned Booth Page. The other guys, they're about this big when last I saw him.
Hey, we know how important the defensive line is, though.
I know.
That's true. The defensive line
acknowledgement of the trenches, right? That's what we talk about here on the program.
Keep loving them.
Well, you got to realize you're dealing with a former defensive lineman, though.
Smart man.
Hey,
he's gonna love them up.
I think there was a reason why we wanted to have him on the show. Anyway, Donnie, you've been great, and hey, good luck this coming weekend against Ravenwood.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, but I do appreciate caring about high school sports, man. It's huge.
Sure. Hey,
absolutely.
Exactly. That's why we have guys like you on. So, hey, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
See you, Donnie. That was Coach Donnie Tyndall, obviously.
Donnie Webb.
Donnie Tyndall. Who is Donnie Tyndall? Why is that?
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Donnie Webb.
Yeah, Donnie Webb. I don't know. Why does that say Donnie Tyndall? Anyway, yeah, Donnie Webb. I'm not trying to be funny either when I said I coached some of the same kids he did. Now, they were real little squirts when I did it, but watching these guys grow up, of course, in that Franklin area, it's just great to watch them developing into these guys that we're rooting on and cheering for. But anyway, when Players Prep returns, we will have many more discussions. We've got one more coach actually interviewed to talk about too. So stick around right here. This is Players Prep. I'm Brad Hopkins. That's Jared Morris and Maurice Patton. We'll be right back.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Vane Center, now celebrating 10 years service in Nashville, Tennessee.
Welcome back to Players Prep, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brad Hopkins, alongside Maurice Patton and Jared Morris. We are brought to you by Global Motorsports, 5 locations in and around the Nashville area. To find out where those locations are, simply go to globalmotorsportinc.com and find out, you can see inventory, selections. You can actually set an appointment when to go in, all those great things that make it easy and convenient to find the best vehicles in town. Global Motorsports, stop in and see them today. We are finishing up our interviews with our coaches because we've got some great rivalries coming up. We've also got some battles of some undefeateds, maybe teams with 1 loss. And to conclude those interviews, of course, we got to finish it up with one of the coaches that's familiar with our show, Will Hester from Ravenwood. He joins us now. Coach, welcome in. How you doing?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on again.
Now, last time we had you on, man, you're going up against Centennial, the battle of 2 undefeateds. We thought for sure, man, you got to work. You got to put it in this week. We're faced with a similar situation, facing the Franklin Rebels, a team that you've got to have the T's crossed and the I's dotted. What's the week like been for preparation so far?
Well, we're just getting started on it. We're on fall break here in Williamson County, so the kids are going to come in at their normal time. We're going to try to keep the routine the same, so they'll be in at the same time they would be as if the school bell rang to end school day. So about 2:30 we'll bring them in, and we'll get to work on the Rebels.
Coach, defense right now giving up 5.8 points a game, playing extremely well, and had a really start fast last week, scoring in the first minute and a half. How big has the defense been in keeping that momentum for your offense going to be able to score in the first minute and a half?
I mean, it's been unbelievable. Our defense is the backbone of our team. They've carried us to this point. They're playing unbelievable right now, and we're going to ride them as far as they can take us.
Coach, obviously, when everybody talks about you guys, the first name that comes up is Van Jefferson, the Georgia commitment at receiver. But just talk about what you guys have been able to accomplish on offense with the Rowland brothers in the running game, and with Austin Percy as your number 2 guy at receiver as well.
Well, I mean, it gives us a good opportunity to spread the ball out, and run it and throw it. Makes it very difficult on the defense. If we're getting a lot of too high safeties, we can run the ball with the Rowland brothers. If they want to work that 8th guy down in the box, and then we can take our shots with Austin and Van. So it does put the defense in a bind a little bit. I'm glad that we don't have to game plan for ourselves each week. But the Rowland brothers have had a phenomenal season. Seth, right on the doorstep of 1,000 yards, and Chris made a bunch of explosive plays this year. So I'm very happy for the way those guys produced.
Coach Hester, I would imagine that there's a little bit of familiarity between the kids that are on both of these teams, both you being Williamson County schools. Maybe they share a Sonic or 2. I'm not sure. So just talk about this maybe being a rivalry that I wouldn't say bitter, but is at least more familiar than some of the ones that you've already faced so far.
Absolutely. Well, all of our in-county teams, are pretty close. All these guys, some of them go to church together. Some of them have played Little League sports together. So they know each other very well, and the coaching staffs know each other very well. I've worked on staffs with the offensive coordinator over there, Dan Winfrey, and so have several of my other coaches, and we all know Coach Webb very well and the kind of product he puts on the field. So we expect to face a very well-coached team this week, and those guys are going to be well prepared, and we're going to have to bring our A game to have a chance.
Coach, we've talked about Van Jefferson. He's an Army All-American, a Georgia commit, like Mo said. And does it help your defense to be able to go up against Van on a daily basis, even if it's not for the whole practice, at least some of the practice, being able to go up against that great athlete that you have? Is that one of the reasons that your defense has been able to be so successful?
Well, I think so. I mean, Van raises the bar competitively of everybody on our team. Anytime he trots out there, every defensive back we got wants to try to get a piece of him and be the guy to bat a ball away or do whatever they can to hold him down in practice. So it definitely gives us an advantage of having to compete against that kind of speed and that athletic ability every week and every day in practice. And I do think it raises the bar for us.
Coach, talk about what Cole Brown brings to the table from a standpoint of, being your starting quarterback, being the son of a Titans assistant, obviously as is Van, but a coach's son at that position, it seems to be maybe a little bit of a different dynamic than maybe at some other positions. Just talk about Cole and his progress at that position and how much he has grown from being Steve's son.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Cole and what he's done this year. I mean, he's literally only, finished up his 7th game as a starting quarterback. He played wide receiver for us last year and did a wonderful job there. So we put a lot on Cole, and he's rose to the challenge every week, and he gets a lot of good advice from his dad, and they're able to go through and take some of the things that he's doing. And his dad, with his expertise being on the defensive side, helps Cole understand coverage and understand what defenses are trying to do to him. So I can't put a price tag on what it means for him to be Steve Brown's son.
Coach Hester, finally, do you notice any pep in the step of your players? Is there any more chatter, a buzz, an energy, a conversation, especially when they know they're going to be going up against a pretty good team that's probably thinking the same thing? Has the atmosphere been any different from your kids?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely a different animal than it was last week. I mean, nothing against Dixon County last week, but they're not as close to us. They're not as much of a rivalry with our guys. You can definitely feel the difference in our guys' attitude and the way they're going about their business. They know that this is a big game. They know that there's a lot at stake, and it's not going to take any hooping and hollering from the coaches to get them ready to play this week.
I know that's right. Well, I tell you what. I mean, if you need to send out flyers or something like that, telling anybody that there's the battle of two titans here in Williamson County, I'm not sure what part of the state you're living in, because it's going to be a titanic battle. If I can throw that Titans word in there one more time. Hey, thanks for joining us today, Coach. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah, I tell you what. That's going to wrap it up for. I mean, geez, I can't even wait for Friday to get here, because there's so many games that we're going to have to talk about on Monday. They have a lot of implications, but for the most part, we've talked to some coaches that really understand the altitude of their teams, where they are right now. Where I guess you could say their strengths and weaknesses are. For the most part, it's like, really, of the four, which one's going to show up? Two teams are going to come out victorious, and two teams are going to come out obviously feeling not so good on that day. So I don't know.
We've hit on a couple of really big, not just big games from a record standpoint, but big games from a rivalry standpoint, like you said, and it's going to be emotional. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Williamson County versus Davidson County. I wonder which game is going to be more exciting. Anyway, that's going to do it for another edition of Players Prep here. We are brought to you, of course, by Global Motorsports, and how you can find out where their locations are throughout the Middle Tennessee area. Simply go to globalmotorsportsinc.com. That's how you can do it. Or so, Jared, tell them everybody how we can reach us on the Facebook, because that's really pretty much how this thing gets its legs, right?
Absolutely. Just go to the Facebook page. It's Players Prep on Facebook, and like the page. We've got all kinds of stuff on there already, a lot of articles. This show is going to be up there, so just go watch it. Post anything you want, questions, photos, videos, anything else, and we'll do our best. We will answer anything you put up there.
Yeah, you might even see Jared twerking. I don't know. Just go to Facebook and find out.
Maybe.
Anyway, that's going to do it for another edition. We'll catch you next week right here on Players Prep. For Jared Morris, Maurice Patton, I am Brad Hopkins. Have a good week.